affected property owners. So couldn't we switch their
But they
place?
would have to be able to switch into the other roles, right?
Why can't they?
What, the only role open is the affected property owner role. So if they are.
But if he's a citizen, if he's a citizen, if he's representing a citizen, can't he switch over to affected property owner and then this person just be a citizen?
Only if, do you have business or ownership of property on the corridor? See, that's the affected property
Oh,
owner.
so you're not an affected property owner. Oh, he's listed that way. Well, I mean, because she would be good, you know, and she's a kitchen designer. So, I mean, you know, she's got,
There's an application for her to apply. Tell her to apply, go straight to Anna, and then she can look at all the connections, see how we consider.
Okay.
Okay. Are you up and running, Lee? Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and call the October 7th meeting to order. Tim, are there any announcements tonight?
Good evening, Tim Brown with Planning and Development. Item number 2, Botanic Miramar Beach was continued at the Zoning Board of Adjustment, which puts us in a position of having to continue it here. So we're requesting that it be continued to the November 4th DRB meeting.
Okay. Do you want us to go ahead and do that motion now, or do you want to? Okay. We have a motion to continue. Anyone?
Motion to continue.
Yeah. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So the Botanic Miramar Beach continued to the November meeting, November 4th meeting. Okay. And we'll hop back over to our minutes. Request to approve September 2nd minutes. Everybody's had a chance to review those. Anyone care to make a motion?
motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And motion carries. All right. Tim, I believe that moves us on to item number 3, Second and Charles. Yes.
Or vote announcement.
yeah.
Oh, yes. Just wanted to let everyone here know, because we only have 4 members here tonight, we are at quorum. You will need a unanimous vote in order to move forward. Okay? And if you don't think you can get 4 votes, you're welcome to ask for continuance.
Okay, so item 3 and 4 go together, so if you want to discuss them together, you can, but we'll have to have separate motions. Item number 2 is Second and Charles Miramar Beach color deviation. And then item number 4 is the Second and Charles Miramar Beach less than minor application is for the exterior modification of the building.
Okay.
So the first one, this is a scenic corridor deviation application submitted by BTS, requesting approval of a color deviation for building facade on 2 acres with a future land use of mixed use and a zoning of coastal center mixed use. Item number 4, this is a less than minor development order application submitted by BTS, requesting approval for an exterior modification of the existing building on 2 acres with a future land use mixed use and a zoning category of coastal center mixed use. So this is in the shopping center with CVS and Chick-fil-A. So they're utilizing that existing building, but they want to modify it with an exterior modification and for the color deviation. So I would ask that both staff reports be entered into the record,
So noted.
and I'll turn it over to them to describe their color deviation and their exterior modification.
Okay. Thank you.
Evening, and thank you guys for allowing us to be here. I'm Melanie Smith, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Second and Charles, and this is Gregg Triola, and he's the Vice President of Construction at our company. We were here a couple of months ago and got your input on what we should do and how we should go about getting this modification of color on the front of our store, being that orange is our brand color, and you guys were great in advising us what direction we should go. And after the changes that you suggested and crossing T's and dotting I's and having everything changed and revised and reloaded, we are here to get final sign-off on our brand color. We took away there were awnings that were, you probably got all of that in your portal, what it looked like last time, and then we took it down to just the orange storefront sign on the front and then on the side as well. And that includes both the items that are on the agenda. Greg, would you add anything?
Yeah, we also reduced the signs, the box, the decorative architectural element on the front per the recommendation of this group to be smaller and match both the left side and the right and the front side.
So you know, this shopping center has a master sign plan, so the signs will not come back to this board for approval. They'll be staff approved. I don't know if anyone had a question about the signs, but that's how it'll work.
A couple of technical questions.
Okay. Yeah, so if you want to go ahead and ask questions while got them up, and then we'll ask if there's public comment. Okay.
This might be a little more for staff. So, Tim, there are two signs on this building. Why does it have two signs? Is that part of the master signage plan?
Well, basically, it's a corner lot.
Okay.
It's on the corner of 98 and Scenic Golf Drive. So the previous building that was there, I believe it had a sign on each side as well.
Paradise Found.
Okay, so is there like an actual street that goes down that, what is this?
No, there's no street there, but we've identified this previously as basically being a corner lot. So we're going to allow both sides, because the one is facing Scenic Golf Drive, the other one's facing Highway 98.
Help orient me. This front facade that we're looking at is kind of, does it face sort of the corner of 98 and Scenic Golf?
It's facing Scenic Golf Drive. If you're looking
Kind of
out from
facing
this
the
building,
Chick-fil-A, right?
yeah,
So that's
the
what I was thinking, the
Chick-fil-A,
corner.
the Chick-fil-A is going to be a little to your left there, but it's facing Scenic Golf Drive. The one on this side, I guess that would be the north side, is facing 98.
Okay.
And because of that gap between the CVS, you can see it from 98.
Okay, great. I just am trying to get oriented. So then I actually have three questions. That was one. Second is the orange the color deviation, or where does this cyberspace color fit in? Is it an approved color, or is it also a deviation? Dark gray.
Dark gray. I think what I don't know. They didn't ask about that. It looks like it's probably too dark to be an approved color.
I want to be careful we're not missing.
Yeah, honestly, I was just processing their request for orange, but
It's actually one of my questions, because
that's probably not an approved, it's probably too dark to be an approved color.
you know if it matches our Munsell color chart? The two grays that are on the building that you're proposing?
For our original meeting, we went
Do the colors that you're proposing, though, for the grays, do those match the approved Munsell chart?
Okay, that's the
Now,
key.
again, the color scheme in these printouts may not be exactly.
Was the orange.
We just have to be careful. It's not a judgment on the color scheme. It's more of if there's a deviation, we have to be sure we either approve it or decline it as a deviation and versus, it's just a technical thing, the way it works, because if something gets through as a deviation, but unbeknownst, that can cause problems later. You see what I'm saying?
That's why the only submission was for the orange.
Well, and I'm bringing this up too because we happen to have another item, a deviation request on this very agenda tonight with a dark gray color that is not in the Munsell colors. So I want to make sure, we have to make sure that we're addressing it if it is in fact not an approved color. And then what was
Said you had 3.
I know, but I think I'm going back to 2 now because I can't remember the third, or maybe it never existed. I think that's it. Go ahead.
So I have a question about the light gray color. It's different from the rest of the shopping center color. Is that correct? Do you know how different? Do you have a match of the color that's existing so that we can kind of see the difference between the rest of the shopping center and the gray?
Plug in, so I'll have a
Yeah.
brighter screen. 'Cause this photo is shaded, right?
Yeah.
Brightened up my computer, I can tell more now. It's different. Gray versus a warmer.
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh,
Are you
absolutely.
done?
Yeah, go ahead.
So just to clarify, I understand number 3, number 4, exterior modification. What exterior modification are you making?
We're adding
And you're painting the building, which is also,
I was just answering the architect.
That's.
the less
okay.
than minor also includes the paint scheme change. So it would be any modification to the building, whether it's a color change or the architectural detailing. So it includes both. Yeah.
No, it did. It did. And real quick too, one thing, and I wasn't here when you guys talked about this before. I guess I wasn't at this meeting, but is there a reason why the signage element pops up above the parapet? Is that typical of your signage? Okay.
We want to just get as much. New brand.
All right. And
Last time we likened it to, for example, a Best Buy, or if you see a logo that extends out over, with an extension over the actual rooftop, it's just that kind of thing. We do it in all our storefronts when we build new stores.
And if you scroll down to the last page of our packet materials, you can see some of their others. One of them's not above the line, but
yeah, one's not. Yeah, I just.
Well, that's okay for the architectural feature, but the actual signage, our code says it cannot extend above the roof line.
That's kind of what I thought it was. Yeah.
At the roof line? The sign, not the,
Yes.
not, the architectural feature's fine, but the sign cannot extend above.
And when they were here previously, I think that was a lot of the discussion
It was.
that we felt like the orange box was an architectural feature and not part of a signage package. It was, we felt like it was a separate element because it wasn't like it was a box for an illuminated sign.
Okay, all right.
Encourage the color deviation request if that was something they wanted to do.
Well, I'm glad you, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm glad you clarified it, because to me, it looks like one big sign.
Me too.
Yeah,
And that was,
I was
That's-
sort of on the other side of that. I
Yeah.
feel like it's part of the sign.
and that's kind of that was where the discussion was when
Okay.
and it wasn't a voting item, it was a informational item.
right, okay.
Okay. Question again about the facade, the gray colors. Do you know what the material is for the base of the columns? Okay, and so you're painting them a gray that'll be different from the rest of the shopping center grays or colors that you're painting them that dark gray?
Well, they appear to be, is it ephes or is it a brick veneer? Okay, well, Google Earth, it appears to be a brick veneer, but either way, they're gonna get painted.
Yeah.
That's the proposal.
Okay. Are there any additional questions right now of the applicant? Okay. Okay. Is there anyone from the audience that cares to speak on this item? Okay, not seeing anyone. All right, you want to open a discussion up and talk about it? Lee?
Oh. So, I do feel like it looks and feels very much like sign, a big orange sign, or orange background sign. I think I stated that the last time. Making it smaller helps, but even the fact that it extends above the cornice line and it just, that sign is right on it, makes it more so. When I look at the last page where it shows some other designs for frontage of other Second Charles locations, and I mentioned this the last time, not necessarily with that rock front facade siding, but the one with the sign that's contained within that facade element is, to me, fits better in our, what we see a lot, mostly on the corridor, if not exclusively on the corridor, because everyone else can't extend their sign above that cornice line. So, you know, I just have trouble with it. I'd rather see it fit within the facade, and because to me that architectural element does look like a sign backing. And it's with that orange color. We talked about this. The irony of it is that we don't have any regulation on signage color in the Land Development Code, in the Scenic Corridor Guidelines, but we do for architectural elements. So this is it's kind of an interesting little situation. So, because if it was brought to, let me just explain that a little further, what I mean. If it was brought to us as a sign, the whole entire piece, the orange backing and the letters and numbers, then it wouldn't matter what color it was for our purposes, because we don't control that. But none of it would be able to be above the cornice line, right? So, that just is, I'm struggling with it, just as I was before when it came before feedback. And I struggle with it further when I look at the picture of the entire building, which, thank you for providing that. We've been asking for that from applicants because it helps us to see how a location fits within the context of the surrounding buildings and signage, and it just dwarfs the rest of the signage to a great degree. Now, typically a large anchor tenant will, to some degree, but this is almost like more than what I'm used to seeing. So those are my concerns.
That was my concern with the gray colors. Not that
Yeah,
they're
mine too.
unattractive,
Mine too.
but that they,
So different.
they're so different from what's existing And it seems like the continuity that that shopping center has is kind of stopping and starting at the anchor building. And if it was a different style of architecture altogether, that may feel normal or feel better. But to me, because it's, you've got the same detailing, the same columns and pylons, same lighting, it feels like even more so of a separator, and kind of like it's trying to divorce itself from the main building. So that was why I was questioning kind of the grays and what the existing building looks like together, because they may be similar, but they're different, and I'm curious at how that's going to look together, as a whole, since the rest of the building is the same and all the rest of the awnings are the same. And and I know there's certain things that are appropriate for an anchor store to separate itself out, but that feels a little odd to me, and I don't know where my comfort level is with it. Yeah, absolutely.
So when we were reviewing, we went back to he was asking the same question.
Mhm.
Dark gray.
Mhm. Mhm.
Pulled the color.
And
And what you see in 25 buildings,
no, I get you. And I get that the awning, it's a close color, but not knowing, because it looks like there's going to be a gray against a taupe, and I.
Awning color.
It's
all of
correct.
the
It's the building facade itself. The awning color actually doesn't bother me, but the gray against the taupe, I don't know if I have a comfort level on it, just because it's separate and kind of different from what's existing there, and it's with the rest of the building being so similar and consistent, it feels a little strange, and
I was
especially
just
going
thinking-
from like the really light colored column base to a dark column base.
Overall, my point was, I don't know that the rest of the building has been freshly painted, and what would it look like against our colors when it happened? And his comment, the landlord's comment was, once we get in and get open, he was gonna refresh.
Yeah.
But even, the dark cornice color, you can, I don't care how much that's faded, I don't think that cornice trim was ever anywhere close to that dark. So it's just every element of the facade is a different color. I'm with you. I'd love for all the awnings to match, but that's not my primary concern. It's the rest of it. The rest of it very much looks like it's in the family of beige and taupe, like you were saying. Taupe.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely grays. So that concerns me too.
Yeah, my main thing is just the orange sign. I mean, to me, it just looks like one big sign, and I've never cared for how anything pops up above the parapet. It just breaks it up.
Tim, do you know what the difference would be if, in square footage, if the maximum sign face versus the maximum square footage of the orange boxes? Is there any kind of data that we have that would compare?
No, they haven't provided anything, but I did relate to them that the sign can't exceed 54 square feet.
And it
So,
is.
so the actual sign, that's
That both together, or is that per?
per side, 54 square feet per
Say in
side.
this case, the way this is presented, the sign would just be the white.
Yes, that would be the sign.
There also a height limit.
No, not for a not for a building sign.
50, close to 54 square feet.
Well, I mean, actually, yes, there's a height of 3 feet for the sign,
And that,
3 feet tall.
those measurements that you were reading, Lee, was just the sign face, the white.
Right. But even, so the height maximum is 3 feet normally.
Yes.
And this one, just the white part is 7 feet, 4 inches.
And the letter height is 24 inches.
So how does that?
Because I didn't look at this, I think there was a disconnect. I think they were looking at this as one thing. I was looking at it as two things. So after we advertised this, I let them know that, okay, the sign itself, the signage, the white, you know, has to meet those requirements, 54 square feet, 3 feet tall. And I didn't know if it did or not.
Doesn't double, more than double the height anyway.
In terms of the architectural feature, I mean, there's no size limit or anything.
Right.
So,
I think that's
In-
why it's dwarfing.
yeah, and so in order for you to be able to approve it administratively per the master sign plan, they're gonna have to come back and revised sign permit for you to see, and that will completely change how this looks to us, because if they're gonna be compliant with the 3 foot and the height of the letter, it doesn't look like this anymore.
Got a much smaller white sign on a, probably the same.
Huge orange square.
Problematic in and of itself.
And the sign that is there now is small.
Yeah, the
It's been,
paradise.
yeah, paradise.
It's also
And
limited.
it is, but it's,
Yeah, all of these signs are relatively small, I mean, all of them. Yeah, I just looked at this as two different elements. You've got the architectural feature, and then you've got the sign, but I'm not sure that's the way you guys were looking at it.
Our designers and engineers reviewed the code on the signage and saw the code being no more square footage than the 54 square feet or 52 square feet, whatever it is. And that's the way they designed the sign, to not exceed that. And when we brought that in the last meeting to kind of look through it, we talked about that the signage would not exceed the code. And I would have to go back and check, but I haven't seen a document that says it can't be more than 3 feet high. So I would have to find that. It does, I don't think it, I didn't see that in the document.
And this architectural element is 12 inches thick. Am I reading that plan?
The depth of the box? Yes, correct.
I just have big concerns about this. I have big concerns about it opening up to future other applicants. Architectural element to way.
and what material is the orange element? Did I miss that? Is it EFS too? It's going to be constructed out of EFS? Okay, and not metal?
The internal framework will be metal, the studs.
Well, but not like a metal panel like some of these others appear to be. Okay.
If the request for the orange was denied, would you still want to do the architectural element above the parapet?
You're required to no higher than 3 feet on the signage. It changes everything, and plus, we won't open. Construction now on the inside of the space, and the store will not go back and redo everything. We built on, per the last meeting's kind of guidance on what we should do to not have these kind of discussions on back and forth. We just wanted to present something that you guys were happy with and that we could build. It was for information and guidance, and we took that guidance and we went back and drew the plans per that last direction. Now it seems like we've changed.
I don't think any of the direction is different. I think all of the direction is the same. The comments are, from my memory, pretty similar to the comments that were last time. Last time we were talking about orange awnings, we were talking about orange parapet. All of those things you've revised. And so that's a different presentation to us, and we're talking about that now, and we're talking about the gray colors. I think all of the commentary about the sign is the same. I think the discussion is different because you're presenting different items. So,
I struggle too that, when I look at the rendering, the actual photo of the building with the rendering of the sign placed on it, there's that architectural element around the band at the corner, the top, that, has the small, squares that stick out from the facade, the little white one, that go all the way down the whole front of the building, not just their part.
yeah.
Yeah, those little decorative things. And this looks like it's sitting on top of those in an awkward, way. Sign, or part of the sign. Much better if this were contained within that facade, and I know that, and I think if this sign itself met the 3-foot height limit, that would be more doable. Much smaller sign, but a lot of people on the corridor have a smaller sign than they want. Process and procedure wise, if the sign here is not probably what Tim's gonna be able to approve, the white part of the sign. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
where
yeah.
do we go from here, even from that perspective?
And I think the question, I mean, I think, to me, it's obvious that they're creating a separate piece of the building to house the sign, but then it does graphically really look like a cabinet. And so I mean, there's just such a big disconnect, because I don't think any architect would create the architectural element if the sign wasn't going there.
Agreed.
Wouldn't be created there.
Right.
I can
Uh-huh.
just make some clarifications here. So it sounds like you talked about the sign being combined inside the storefront, like on one of the visuals that we have in a couple of our other storefronts. It sounds like that's probably going to be our friend going forward, something that we would need to do.
My opinion.
Right.
I'm one board member, but
Well, I think the challenge is that you would not be able to do a pop-up above the facade
Right.
with a sign.
Right.
And so you've created an architectural box element, but what we're seeing is not going to be representative of what that's going to look like with an actual sign on it. And since it's created for the sign, there's some conflict. I think that's what some of our discussion
Right.
is about, that conflict.
So I think I hear you loud and clear on that in terms of what this means going forward from a revision standpoint and timing, like Gregg was talking about, the build-out that we're already doing. When it comes to the grays, what is that, like so I feel like we got some pretty clear direction last time on the orange and the awnings and all those things, and we made those revisions, and now we're talking about grays and then the rest of the center. So where are we landing on that, just from a discussion standpoint, so we know what that means now?
From my perspective, and again, just kind of, I just would like to know and understand what this is really going to look like. So if we had something that was a little bit more representative of what the rest of the center color is and could see that kind of side by side, it would be helpful to understand what we're actually going to be approving, because the rest of the center is so consistent. And so that it's for me, it's just trying to understand how that's going to look together, because right now it kind of looks like grays and taupes together. Just it's not really. It doesn't look like it is one unified shopping center. It
Understood,
kind of,
and I think too, like from our standpoint, like it's about, like if we can make it attractive enough for people to come to the center, then obviously there's some other businesses that would benefit from the attractiveness of our grays versus their worn out and aged taupes. But At the
But-
same
but-
time, I
but-
get what you're talking
Yeah,
about, which
so
is the
like the
consistency.
restaurant next door isn't gonna be able to paint
Right.
a portion of their
I get it.
facade a
Right.
different color.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Understood.
so it's just, and I don't know that it's a conflict.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the
Got it.
information to make the assumption. I just feel uncomfortable about it just because I don't have enough information.
Gotcha.
Shelley, can I ask a quick question
Yeah.
to that point? When you said the owner of the complex said he wants to refresh the building, was he talking about repainting it the original colors it was, the rest of this building, or painting it to match your color?
He did not.
He didn't say.
He just let, based on his liking of what we were doing, he would repaint.
Okay. So I'm going to play David Bailey, blast from the past. I think it might be a bridge too far, but you mentioned opening by Thanksgiving, so I'm assuming that that's a great desire of yours. Is that a safe assumption? I'm wondering if it's going to take a lot, and we'll have to move quickly, long agenda, but I'm wondering if there's a way, if you guys could get comfortable with approving this conditionally based on some changes. Vision it well enough, without stuff coming back to us with the changes. Might be a way that we could do that tonight so that they can continue on and get open. Thoughts? I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just trying to look at all angles.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question along those same lines? So when we go back to our owners, we'd like to give them options so that they can make an informed decision about what they want to do going forward. Direction on what needs to be changed based on the board's review. At this point, correct me if I'm wrong, if we did not paint the storefront at all, left it as is, and we changed the signage to a linear version of Second and Charles within the height range that's per code, there would be no deviation or request. We'd be open by Thanksgiving, and then we can revisit this with more time. Would be a
But yeah,
workaround for
yeah,
us to be able to get open.
Absolutely.
That's
We
sort of
don't
where
have
I'm trying to.
on opposing sides here on what we want to do, and we can take this up when we have more time.
That's sort of part of a form of what I was trying to get to help you get open.
I was just trying to make sure I understood what you were.
What would you propose? What?
Basically what he just said. If they would leave the colors the way they are today on the facade of the building, which matches the rest of the building, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna
It
leave.
does it. I don't know if, did Paradise paint or
I think it's the same.
Bruno's? Okay.
I
You all
believe
know,
it's
is it the same today,
The only thing I
consistent?
know is the problem is the awnings are, the paint's peeling off and they're candy apple red underneath.
Yeah.
And that was
From
something
Bruno's.
we were trying to get resolved.
100 years ago.
Yeah. Again, I'm not too, well, shoot, would you be willing to paint the awnings the same color as the awnings that are on the others?
Without knowing which way we would end up at the end of the day, I don't know that I would want to try to do that, because just a cost perspective, I'm gonna have to build two signs. For example, something to open under, unless there's something we can work out in between, some type of temporary signage, and I don't
Can
know what.
sign.
No, I mean the awning colors.
Sure, if you, yeah,
Because you said the awnings are an issue because
They
the
are.
paint's peeling.
they are, yes, ma'am.
So I was saying, would you be willing now temporarily to get open to paint the awnings the same color as the rest of these awnings on the
Because
rest of the building?
you could do that without issue, is to repaint them.
Absolutely.
Just a
Just
a
it's a
replacement
touch-up.
of, right.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't,
And change the sign to linear and fit it within the 3-foot height limit and
Well,
fit it
and I
within
think
the
that just
facade.
goes with what's there, right? The paradise
It is.
that,
Right.
that we talked about.
and
think so.
Tim would be able to approve that without having to come back before us.
Right, and then we can come back with,
Hearing any
after that.
problems, Tim, with this?
Sounds like the thing to do would be table these items, because that means they don't go away. They can come back at any time. Table them for now. They can decide what they want to do, and if they want to come back or modify, they can do that, because it doesn't go away by tabling it. Now, if you guys denied it, then they start all over.
Right.
And meanwhile, in addition to that, they could then go, leave the facade the color it is today and do a different sign that you would then approve administratively, and they could probably get open when they want.
Yeah,
I can
If
approve
it's-
the sign.
And if it's tabled, then we can come back and
Or
revisit
signs,
this
you can
later
still
if
have
you
two.
choose
We
to.
would want to
The
temporary.
grays and the landlord.
And it would be, if the landlord is interested in repainting the building in a different color scheme, bringing that as a unified discussion point, with, you know, him having a less than minor for that,
That'd be really helpful.
that would alleviate all that concern. And I don't have a problem if there's some differentiation because it's an anchor store. That's not the issue. The issue is just, I don't know what the comfort level is between a completely taupe building and a completely gray building. And so, yeah, to me, I think there's leeway with how you interpret detailing on an anchor store. So, I just want to make sure you understood that I wasn't adamant on wanting it to match everything else, but I just don't know what that feels like, that comfort. And if he's interested in repainting, it would be interesting to look at it in its totality.
But couldn't they put up a temporary sign instead of going in production of a sign and then coming back and
Tim,
all
I
of that?
believe can they do a temporary sign on the?
Yes, they can get a 32 square foot temporary sign through code enforcement. Code enforcement does all temporary signs. Cannot be a banner. Can't go up on the building because banners aren't allowed in the scenic corridor. But it's actually a ground sign, 32 square feet.
So y'all would have to decide if you
And where you want to put it. If you want to put it on 98 or if you want to put it on Scenic Gulf Drive, you can only have one temporary sign.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, I can't speak for our owner, but I would think that really the sign needs to come back.
Yeah, you can submit a sign application at any time. Since they have a master sign plan, I can approve it.
may like it better than you think. Let's be positive. I don't know. Who knows? Or he may like it better than he thinks, so we'll see.
Is there a request that you want to table the items or for us to continue, or is there something that you would prefer for us to do?
I like what you guys said about tabling the items so that we can.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Is there any kind of time frame on that? Does anyone, Tim, do you know? Okay.
But they have to go through the same process and put up a sign, send out the letters. That has to be done again, but they just have to notify us to put it on the agenda.
Okay.
All right, well, if y'all are comfortable with that, we're sort of working together on this. I'm happy to make the motion to table the item.
Well, we'll need 2 motions and 2 votes for 3 and for 4. 3 is the color deviation and 4 is the,
And do we need to table
less than
both,
minor.
Tim, the deviation and the less than minor? Okay, so I'll make the motion to table the deviation.
okay, we have a motion. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to table the less than minor.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So when you guys are ready, coordinate with Tim, and if there's any additional questions, and see if he can answer them or come back for some question and answer session.
Really
So,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item number 5, Shade and Drape Company building sign.
Yes, this is a scenic corridor sign application submitted by Vintage Art and Sign, requesting approval of a building sign measuring 28 inches by 65.5 inches for a total of 12.7 square feet on 0.964 acres with the future land use of mixed use and a zoning of village mixed use. This sign does meet the scenic corridor standards, and I'll turn it over to the applicant. Enter the staff report into the record, please.
So noted. Yes, applicant? Good evening.
Kim Sutton, Vintage Sign and Light.
Anything you wanted to add for presentation? Okay. Any questions of Kim?
I'm just trying to understand exactly how this sign works. Looking at the side view, what do you call that? I know there's a more technical term for it than that.
Section.
Section, thank you. So are the letters three-dimensional on the, in and of themselves,
No, it's a cloud-shaped channel letter.
cloud shape, okay. So the entire thing is a square with a little, where the ampersand is?
It is their logo, yes, ma'am, just like that.
That part of it is how deep? I don't,
Is that what you're asking for?
Mhm.
I don't have any comments about it.
Is there anyone from the audience that wants to make a comment on this one? Okay.
West elevation of the Marquee Kitchens.
oh, got it. West. So this is on that side of the building.
Mhm.
So this one, this bay is toward the back? This is single bay? Are these other bays part of Marquee?
He may have one more that he's renting out, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Bottom of that sign sit right at the bottom of that,
the archway.
Not all the way. It's off of it by a couple of inches. I tried to make it as large as possible, to give them as much visibility as possible without, touching the bottom or touching the top trim.
have measurements on the sign?
Sign?
They're not on the submittal document.
Yeah, it's under the the picture, I think, right? 28.5 inches. Is that it? By 65.5 inches?
Oh, down there. Okay.
Yeah. That would be what's over the
Oh,
door.
got it. I'm sorry.
Any comment? I mean, anything else I know.
Oh, I don't know how much I want to.
Pick it. Okay.
I'd like to see it a little bit smaller, just so that it fits a little better into that facade element. Small.
Anyone care to make a motion? Or have any additional discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve item number 5, agenda, Shade and Drape Company.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Are you ready? Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Thank
And
you.
item number 6, 6 and 7
Yeah,
to
we can
talk
do
about
6
together.
and 7 together. They're exactly the same size. They're just on different elevations. So this is a scenic quarter sign application submitted by Eloquent Signs requesting approval of a building sign measuring 60 inches by 120 inches for a total of 50 square feet on 2 acres with a future land use of commercial and a zoning of business park. This is at the northeast corner of Serenoa Road and Highway 98, so it's that very large building that was approved a while back. So they're on a corner lot. They can have 2 signs, but they're doing them on the north and south elevations. The south elevation is facing 98, so the north elevation is facing the opposite of 98, but not facing Serenoa Road. And with that, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, and I'll turn
Okay.
to the applicant.
So noted on the staff report. Applicant would like to come up. Hi. Is there anything you'd like to tell us about the sign or add to Tim's?
Nothing in particular. The only reason the one on the north tower is because that door directly below, as you see in the image, is the entrance to their office. So, and it also gives good visibility to, I believe, a neighborhood that's going to be built back there. Is that correct? And I'm Brianna Williamson with Eloquent Signs.
So the sign that's facing north, there's parking lot
Correct.
on that side of it?
Yep.
Okay.
You can kind of see it in the bottom left image there on the north tower rendering.
Five foot high by 10 feet wide sign.
Correct.
We're okay there, Tim? From the side, because of the size of the building?
It's like 18,000 square feet, so it can be 100 square feet and 5 feet tall.
How deep are these letters? I'm sure it's here, but this is so tiny.
Yeah, so the letters, they're 5 inches in depth, and then they're on the raceway as well.
Okay.
Correct. Yep, front lit.
Yeah.
Fine.
Is there anyone from the audience that wants to speak on this one? Okay. This would be for both items. Yep. All right.
First item, what number?
Item number 6. Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And on the north tower, number 7. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Item number 8, Alvin's Island. Tim.
Thank you. This is a scenic quarter sign application submitted by Sign Erectors Incorporated, requesting approval of a building sign measuring 36 inches by 133.21 inches for a total of 33.3 square feet on 0.165 acres with the future land use of mixed use and a zoning of coastal center. This is located on the south side of 98 in Miramar Beach. With that, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, and I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Okay, so noted. Thank you.
I'm Brad Sanders.
Hello. Hi. Is there anything you'd like to add to Tim's report?
You have the drawings, right?
I'm crazy. Is this right down the street from the other Alvin's Island that we've been,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we've been working on ad nauseum,
Is
meeting
this
after meeting after meeting?
The outlet version, is this the?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
like right there on the left.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Okay, so how far are you from that other one?
Not very far.
This is just curiosity. This has nothing
Probably
to do with.
less than a quarter mile.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay, well, whatever.
We're not having a request to paint the building. It is white as is.
White.
And what was this, or is it? Was it building? Is this?
I don't
an
know what
Um,
it was.
It's currently an outlet store, right? Is it not
This-
for?
This store that we're applying for here, there's just, they rented it for a test, you know, because they normally buy all their stores or
Uh-huh.
own their properties. And they rented this location just to see how it would do.
So it's currently an Alvin's Island store,
Okay.
an outlet store. If I'm remembering the current signage, that's
It looks neat.
That
yeah,
they,
yeah. It looks very nice.
It was a shoe, I think it was a shoe salon before that.
Hard time recognizing these buildings tonight. I think I'm in a weird day.
Well, it'd be nice if we had.
They took those big
maps,
awnings
yeah.
off the
See,
building. You,
okay.
you remember it had those awnings on it?
So did this used to be that furniture brocade
Shoe salon.
shoe salon? That's
Yeah.
it. Thank
Yeah.
you, God.
And
I
had
don't know
those
why.
big awnings up there.
Yes, those black and white striped ones. So they're gone. So that's why there's this weird pasted block thing here
Yeah.
trying to show what it looks
Yeah.
like without those
It
big
wasn't
old
painted when I did that. So
Okay, that's fine. I was just trying to figure it out.
yeah. Look.
Okay, good. Now I know exactly what I'm looking at. Thank you.
So there's a sign on there now with Alvin's Island, right?
If they put one on there.
There's one up there now, so I guess my question for clarification is, it's getting changed out to this sign that's here
This
now?
is gonna
Because
be the,
there's one there now that's got like a big, kind of like Second and Charles framed area
Oh,
with something on it, so,
I
but,
thought there was.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not gonna be there, this is gonna be there instead, okay.
That's the permanent.
I just wanna
sign.
make sure there's nothing behind it that gets put up there that we're not approving.
so this is on a raceway, I'm assuming, that matches the color of the building?
Mhm.
That answers that.
I think it's an appropriate sign. I think it's placed appropriately, and I think the color of the building is still appropriate. So, yeah. Is there anyone from the audience that wants to speak on this one? Okay. Does anyone care to make a motion or have any other questions or discussion? Have a motion to approve?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
All the motions over here.
Well, there's only 3 of you.
I made one.
Yeah, me too.
We have item number 9, renovation flooring sign deviation.
Yes, this is a sign deviation request submitted by Michael Anderson requesting approval of a deviation for sign size from 54 square feet to 101.44 square feet, and a deviation from sign height from 36 inches to 44 inches on .43 acres with a future land use to mixed use in the zoning of coastal center. So with that, I'd like to enter my staff report into the record, and I'll turn it over to the applicant.
So noted, thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
Evening.
I'd like to preface the conversation, a little bit of history of this building and the sign if possible.
Certainly, could you please state your name and spell for?
Michael Anderson, I'm the owner of Renovation Flooring. And so, this is the oldest, ugliest building in Miramar Beach. It's been there since the dawn of time. This building was previously leased in 5 separate units. So there used to be a golf ball outlet on the downstairs portion of it, a mattress outlet on the downstairs portion. Coastal Properties used to be in the upstairs portion, then there was another business, a car dealership had another upstairs portion. Started this business in 7 years ago, so late 2014. We leased one quadrant. Over the years, our business has grown, and we've leased each individual space from that person. Now we have control of the whole building. There's no other occupants in the building. Our sign currently is on the front of the building on one side of the building. It's kind of lopsided, not centered. And now that we have the full building, my proposal is to enclose 2 windows that were on the front of the building, move the sign to the top center, and then add a design showroom underneath that. That's why it's so ugly now, and why we're trying to make it a little bit more symmetrical and a little bit better presentation. We are keeping the current renovation flooring sign that's already on the building. All we're doing is shifting that up to the center top of the building, and then adding or proposing to add a design showroom under it. Our business started in just flooring. We now do countertops, cabinets, and quite a few other items. We're open to designers as well. So,
Do you have a photograph of the current condition of the building?
it should be in your notes. I will show you one. Yes, ma'am.
I haven't seen one. If y'all have seen one, let me know.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, have it on my phone. Would that be acceptable?
If you have it, yes, that would, I would. And so the renovation flooring is an existing sign currently on the building that you're relocating, and you're proposing to add a second sign under it, the
That is
design
correct.
showroom piece. Okay.
I got it on Google Earth, so, and you're going to enclose those windows, is that what you said?
These 2 windows will be removed. This sign's already on. It's got,
Mhm.
sign was.
Okay.
I'm going to restucco the entire front of the building.
Okay, I see it. Okay.
It just looks like kind of one quadrant right now.
Okay, okay.
I think in the center, here. In the design showroom, the reason why the square footage is so big, the sign we currently have is pretty large. And I'm trying to make the letters of the design showroom actually look somewhat consistent with the size of the letters that we currently have. So I think they've got those at 16 inches. And the top letters are 22 inches on the R and the F, or 20.3 inches. So if we go too small, it looks really, really tiny there. And so working with Brianna at Eloquent Signs, this is what we all kind of came up with for the best.
And then that exhibit that shows where it's going to get relocated at is actually to scale between the 2 windows?
Yes. Yep. Eloquent Signs scaled all this out for us.
Okay.
So without that design showroom added, did the sign meet the code?
It's already met code once, so I would say it did.
That's what I'm
So-
assuming.
So Eloquent Signs made and relocated that sign before in approval 3 years ago.
I guess, following similar question, and this may be for Tim, if this was all a multi-tenant building and not one tenant, and they had the multiple signs, like what's currently on the facade, the totality of the multiple signs, is that greater than what they're asking for here, or equivalent?
Yeah, this sign's going to be,
Eyeballing it.
the mattress outlet sign that was there was actually the same size our renovation flooring sign was, minus like a few inches, because they're both really long names, but we actually matched their color and their height before to make it look consistent. This design showroom sign's 16 inches, so it's 25% less height.
Okay, so yes, they would be asking for less than what is currently on the building, and if they had 2 separate businesses occupying the one space. Okay.
Is that font of design showroom part of your logo?
No. It was just a font that Brianna had said would be visible. And we wanted to do it in black because the other sign's red, and it's aged a little bit. So if we put another red sign, we were kind of afraid that one may look really, really new and one may look a little duller than the other one. But the black would be backlit with white, so it would show up white at night. But I'm open to a different font if that's a factor. I feel
Well, I just always worry about readability, and this is a kind of a busy font. So when you're going 55 miles an hour or whatever it is, hopefully not that, faster than that, I just wonder for your benefit. The code does require that signs are legible from the road, so.
From what I understand, this was already an approved font. Brianna actually picked this one to match because of it was approved on
It's not a
another
code thing,
business.
I'm just thinking about it for your purposes, really.
Oh, no, I get it. Thank you.
I
And
mean,
then for another 6 years, I think we're going to be going about 25 miles an hour down that road anyway. So
Say that.
kidding. No, it's gonna improve one day.
Overall, this is a drastic improvement over the years and a phased approach to this building.
And I like the fact that you're reusing the sign and not creating something, having to create a new sign. I do appreciate that, the cost savings and just the recycling portion of that.
If you weren't, I'd probably prefer it be a little bit smaller, just so it wasn't quite so close to those windows. Would fit better in the overall facade of the building, but so much.
Motion to approve.
Absolutely not.
We
That's right.
do have an opening for an affected property
we do.
owner board member, if
I
this is
may.
something that you are interested in.
Gonna take that Tempur-Pedic
so-
sign out of that window?
Oh, yes. God,
That'd be
yes.
great.
Is there anyone from the audience that has anything to add or ask? Any comments? All right, seeing none. Does anyone?
One quick thing, the raceway the same color as the building facade, and
The raceway. What is a raceway?
what the letters are attached to, that thin strip?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay.
Any additional questions or discussion? Does anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item number 9.
Item number 9. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yes.
And it looks like our last project, 3 items for tonight, the Porsche dealership.
Yeah, these all go together, so. The first one is a color deviation, so this is a scenic quarter deviation application submitted by Innerl Engineering, requesting approval of a color deviation. The second one is a scenic quarter deviation request by Innerl Engineering for a building material deviation. And then finally, this is a major development order application submitted by Innerl Engineering requesting approval to develop a 28,450 square foot auto dealership with showroom, service, office space, and associated infrastructure on 3.44 acres with a future land use of mixed use and a zoning of village mixed use. So with that, I'll ask that staff report be entered into the record, and I'll turn it over to the applicant.
So noted on the 3 separate staff reports there. And David? And we're going to hear all 3 items and discuss all as one, and then we'll make 3 separate motions at the end. So
Sounds great.
Okay.
And for
just
the rec-
easier for us to handle it as one chunk.
Well, me too. I want to talk about everything at the same time. But for the record, I'm David Smith with Innerl Engineering, and good evening. And I'm also here with Margaretton Architectural, and this is William and Brian. And then also Jeff Margaretton is available by FaceTime here on an iPad.
Nice.
Hello, Jeff.
Good.
Thanks for joining us.
So, yeah, so Jeff wasn't available, so we appreciate you guys letting him join by FaceTime. So
Thank you very much, and we've got Brian from our office will be, also be there to help present.
Thank you.
And then what I'll do is I'll begin with just a general overview of the location and the areas. I'm the civil engineer on the project, and Jeff and his team are obviously the architects. And I'll begin with a general overview of the property, the elements outside of the building, and then turn it over to Jeff and his team for the building discussions as well as the color and the material deviations discussion. So the property is located just east of 38.
I'm good.
That's South Haven to the east, is that what?
Yes, it is. The property is currently vacant and wooded, 3.44 acres. So what we are proposing before you this evening, I'll let Jeff and his team discuss the building in detail, but I'm going to turn it over to the site plan. This is Highway 98. And we do have property. So you enter in customers parking. There is a screening wall. Not be visible from US Highway 98 right of way. The third parking access. This is employee parking, but I do want to point out there's also a screen. You can't see employee parking from the 95. Building this jog out here as well, which does block back here. We also have that plaza. General overview of the development plan. Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you and your team to discuss the building components, and looks like you may have a question.
Yeah, I actually have a couple of site plan questions.
Absolutely.
If I can, before we get Jeff and his team up.
Absolutely.
All of the stormwater, it looks like is all underground?
Yes, it is. It's exfiltration.
Are the pavers that are proposed up at the plaza and the front portion, are those permeable, or is that just a decorative?
It's going to be a brick paver, like a traditional brick paver. We're not using permeable pavers for stormwater. We meet all the requirements without using permeable pavers.
And I did not see a photometric plan in the packet.
Lighting plan at all, I didn't.
Oh, there's, and Jeff, I'm going to let you get involved, but we don't have lighting. Signage, we would like to come back to discuss the signage.
Okay.
Because I know there were some concerns on the signage. And Jeff would be better to talk about this, but Porsche has detailed signage requirements. That's part of their requirements to do a facility.
Okay.
So we have to go back and discuss Walton County's requirements with Porsche and make sure everybody's on the same page. So we do want to come back before this board and discuss the signage separately, if that's okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. And so you're not proposing any exterior lighting at this time either?
That is correct.
Will there be proposed in the future exterior lighting, pole lightings for the parking lot, safety lighting outside for the?
I'm sure there will, Jeff. Is that your understanding as well?
Yes, there will be a photometric plan and site lighting submitted. We are working with the required Porsche vendors, and Porsche, being as green forward as they are, have the same lighting specifications that generally meet the Walton County lighting specifications as far as full cutoff and no light disturbance flow on 200 feet of property. So we are in the process of getting our electrical engineers on board with all that. We're kind of taking this step by step.
So would that mean that you would come back with a separate less than minor, or is this something that you anticipate working in the process before your board?
Ideally work that into the process as part of this submittal. We are juggling right now, trying to make sure that Porsche is okay
So Tim, would that mean that that would be a separate, less than minor application to us? Or would that be a revisit of the site plan for a different approval?
Yeah, it's one or the other. Either they come back before they get this approved by the county commission to get that approval from this board, or they come back and do a less than minor to amend that development order.
Okay.
I also wanted to point out, my mind that two things. One is if it's in VMU and it's over 3 acres, they're required to have passive active recreation. So that's the little pocket park they're proposing. That's going to meet their recreational component. The other thing is the site plan shows a car as art in the plaza. That's a no-go.
Yes.
Because I knew it would come up, so I want to let you know that's a no-go. That's not going to happen. So y'all, if you want to discuss it, you can, but it's not allowed.
So
Thank you, Tim.
back to the lighting question, could we, to avoid it having to come back, could we make our approval conditional on the final plan lighting meeting code? And then if it doesn't, it has to come back, or how do you, is that a way?
So my concern about that is that they've got currently trees proposed in all the landscape islands, and there could be a conflict with pole lighting with the trees.
I'm fine with it
And
coming
there's
back.
a residential complex next door.
I'm fine with it
So-
coming back.
I just would like someone to double check it.
Is it okay too if it's structured in a way where if we do decide to come back before we get BCC approval, we have the opportunity to do so for the lighting and the signage, or we also would have the option to move forward with getting approval and then with a lesser minor development order amendment to come back for the.
That's what I understood from Tim,
Okay.
that you have both of those options.
Because we'll do whatever we
yeah,
need
and-
to.
and
I
I
just don't know
think-
what the
yeah, I
ultimate
think
plan is right now.
For me, both of those options would be fine.
Okay. And they're
but,
fine with us too. but
I
don't
just
know
wanted to
which
make sure
one.
you had paths, and that we knew what those paths were.
So,
So,
yeah, thank you.
Clarify for the record on the signage, we've been pushing as a board to have signage plans come with the development order approval. But I think I'm okay with it not in this case because your facade is such that there aren't, what we see happening is someone gets a development order approved for a building that has strange architectural elements, strange when it comes to making signage work with them. And then we get the sign plan back after the fact to approve, and there are all kinds of conflicts and problems. So, but I don't think this building presents that condition for y'all.
yeah, I would agree with that. And it's not a multi-tenant situation either,
Yes,
so
that's the
that
other,
alleviates
Yeah,
a lot of that
agreed.
concern.
that's the other thing. So just for the public's in general, for the record, normally we would not be quite okay with that, or as okay with it.
Thank you.
I didn't have any additional questions of David. Do you want to move to architectural?
Well,
or
I
do you
got a
have-
couple
you
real
have-
quick.
Okay.
So you did say that you do have underground detention and you have stormwater retention pond at the front and the pocket park. Is that? Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I flipped to that. So that's gone. That's gone. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. And then the security fence that runs parallel to the residential, is it the metal wall panels? Does it turn and go, or is it a different material? I'm looking at the architectural site plan.
Yeah, we were looking at possibly a vegetated fence. We were not the full metal panel wall all the way down the side. We were probably going to bring that about 15, maybe 20 feet, so we can provide a good vantage point terminus for that. And we were going to go with a standard metal fence that we could then be made part of the buffer, integrate with the landscaping, and create the separation gap.
Okay, okay.
And the brown color that's depicted on the architecturals is what you're anticipating for all of that constructed material, whether it's the steel panel or whatever the, it,
Should be-
isn't
should
it
be-
brown, is
it's
it?
a
Oh, it's
gray.
gray?
Gray
Okay,
charcoal.
that's my bad
That,
then.
that's the metal panel color.
Okay.
Right.
It can look different on different
Yeah,
computer screens.
That's okay, that's okay.
It does look kind of brown, very brown, actually, in our renderings.
Okay, at least it's not me, because I thought that was
No,
definitely brown.
It's not you, but I
Okay.
just read that it was charcoal, so.
Okay. I actually like this color better. Okay.
In the brown?
Yeah. I think it fits better.
I have a quick technical question for you guys. How accurate are your color renderings from a
fence.
landscaping perspective?
Yeah, the one that looks brown in the,
Not? Okay, I just want
The question is how accurate are the architects?
On a count of 1 to 10, maybe they're great.
okay.
The architectural renderers that we are using, were not taking into account the landscape plan per se. More so, they were taking into account what we had architectural site plan
Gotcha.
as decorative kind of spaces.
That's fine. I just wanted to know.
That's, I mean, to be quite honest, from a landscape perspective, I would go with the landscape architect.
Yep. Yep.
I've yet to see an architect's
I
rendering
know.
that.
I just
yeah.
wondered how close we might be getting here.
No.
Okay.
The landscape plan has mostly native plant material, and the tree selection is typical instead of the pine and some of the other things you're seeing from the rendering.
And then we have 2 service doors that face 98, correct? Service bay doors?
Correct, those would be the service drive entrance
I can hear you.
doors on the west side of the building.
I'll point it, Jeff, I'll point.
Yeah, right there, they face it.
Was that screened? It's not screened.
They're garage doors.
Yeah, they're garage doors. Full-
Glass.
That's not the
Glass.
shop.
Should we maybe go ahead and let kind of the architectural presentation, and,
Yeah.
and then we can start talking about the building specifically? I think we'll miss some of the nuance if we.
Take him up there.
And especially the deviations being requested.
As far as the deviations, I believe we have the two, and that's the color and the material. Am I missing one?
No,
That
just
is
the
it.
color and material, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So I believe that the color deviation really had to do with the darker charcoal. Correct me if I'm wrong. The 2 metal panels that you have there in front of you are the Porsche standard for all of their new facilities. We went through the Munsell
I'll pass
color
them.
books, and we found that they both, and Brian, you probably have the numbers there in front of you. We found that they both actually came pretty close to existing Munsell colors that were allowed on the Nearly White's neutral page. I believe it was like 6.5 and 9.5. The charcoal being the one that might be a little darker than standard. That material is primarily the rear half of the building, and then it's also used for the screen wall. And then we're in order to create screen wall, we're maintaining that Porsche architecture, except we're lowering that height. It's not full building, it's only about 6 feet, keeping it nice and simple and linear, and then screening the wall solid to all visibility behind the wall. Then we turn that wall behind where we have the covered electric vehicle parking spaces.
Yep. Yep.
sloped canopy that will cover all of the electric vehicle parking stations and charging stations that are accessible to the public.
And the fence in that portion that's parallel to 98, is it at the building setback line, or is it pushed back, or is it up closer? What's the distance?
Brian, please point. If you're referring to like the sliding fence, all that's you see.
The turn back, the turn back portion.
She's referring to the part that's adjacent to the plaza,
Yeah.
parallel to 98.
You might need another set of hands up there.
Yes, absolutely.
So
The part that's adjacent to the plaza, that's solid. There's no.
In that,
there.
the question was, is that at the building setback, or is that?
Oh, yeah, no,
Okay.
it's further back, I believe.
Okay.
I think we absolutely set that further back.
Okay.
We were more concerned with creating the plaza space and getting an art installation that we're not allowed to have. But really, not to belabor that point, but really, what we were thinking is someone like a local artist would do something fabulous from a public art standpoint. It's not a vehicle. That's not what it is. It's a piece of public art, and what that is, we don't know yet. So I'm hoping that we have the ability to meet with the county, bring in an artist, and do something that would be a positive addition to the 98 corridor.
I love the idea of having a local artist provide something for that space.
Yeah, this is not something that Porsche is against, and it's certainly not something that Porsche does. This is something that we've talked with them about, and they like the idea, and so that is a to be determined object that could be about a benefit to the community.
Cultural Arts Alliance here locally is starting a public art program, so I'd encourage.
Absolutely.
Ready to do.
Yeah, and I had brought it up with Jennifer a long time ago, and so we're not there yet, but this is absolutely something that we can be a part of.
So to kind of specifically hit on, you spoke about the color deviation and the closeness of those colors there, the material deviation.
My understanding, and David, if you want to touch on this as well from your experience here in front of this committee, this board, the smooth metal panels, high grade, aluminum metal panels that are they're insulated metal panels. They're not a metal building. Has typically been approved by this board. It's not, this is a very expensive, high-end, gorgeous material. It's not your metal building that we don't want.
So it's just because it's specifically not listed, metal panels are not specifically listed as a, okay.
Absolutely correct, yes.
Okay. I was a little unclear about that, okay.
Making noise for a minute, I'm so sorry.
And those are, not that they have to be, but it's, I think one of those samples was a Lucabon, correct? As well as on the back of it, okay. And I just asked because I'm familiar with that product, so.
Yeah. I'm sorry, who's speaking?
Chad.
Oh, hey, Chad, all right, I wasn't sure who was. Thanks.
Yeah.
Don't have a white enough.
I'm going to be Max Headroom over here, and Brian's just going to kind of move. Thank you very much for letting me do this.
Jeff, was there anything else that you wanted to add about the architectural or any kind of the building pieces that, before we kind of move on, or?
No, I don't, unless there's something that the board specifically wants me to address.
Okay.
I think that what we have here is a very high-end building with quality materials, plenty of glass, and we've done 100% of what we can do to ensure that we meet the land development code from a screening of exterior display of merchandise. This actually worked very in concert with Porsche's design requirements, they don't want parking lots in front of their buildings either. So we found a lot of symbiosis in that we could put this kind of building on the street. Now, there are things that we will have to work through together, or things that, some signage things and some photometric plans. We'll have to make sure that everything works within the land development code and Porsche at the same time. And I think we'll be able to meet those high bars.
And do you know offhand what the material for the dumpster enclosure is? Since you're using the metal on the building, I
Same
guess
metal
it's the same metal. Okay. So all of the elements.
Darker gray.
The darker gray. Okay, great. All right. I assumed you probably do. Of Jeff, or do you want to?
I don't even know.
Okay.
I'll
All right.
Start asking him, whoever wants to respond.
Okay. Well, fire away.
And I don't want to jump in there.
No, go ahead.
No, I
You're
think
good.
we've been asking our questions. We've been jumping in, so.
Okay. This is might be for Tim. So look, nothing personal, no personal judgment on the owners of this or the designers of this, anything. But clearly, this is very different, new and different. We don't have car dealerships in the corridor to date. So I know this has come through the tech review process, and there was a lot of discussion there from what I understand. I didn't witness it, but I heard. Is it part of the DO at this point that no service or used or new cars for sale can be visible in these side or front parking areas?
Yeah, it's merchandise, regardless of what that might be. We're talking vehicles, but merchandise cannot be seen.
Okay, so
Like
code
why we
enforcement
don't
is very, I know
have
this is
these
different.
things.
This is just a different, animal. So I want to make sure code enforcement has all the teeth and tools they need to enforce that going forward. In any dealership, no judgment on this particular dealership or owner. Okay, so rooftop equipment, we've had this discussion before on a different project, so I'm gonna have faith in you that you've ensured that it cannot be seen from the roadway, that's low enough below it.
Lee, would you like me to address that?
Yes, I'm looking at you, you just probably can't tell that.
I thought you were.
I am.
Yeah, so if you look at Brian, what are you going to show? You want to show the rendering, or do you want to show the roof plan? There you go. Okay. So if you look at the rendering, over where the service drives are on the west side of the building, all of those metal panels then turn the corner back to the south where the service drive is. Now, those metal panels, the height of the building is a full 2-story building, yet the service drive is only a 1-story space. So the effective height, all of the rooftop equipment is lined up on top of that service building.
Okay.
And the service drive building. And so that screen wall is about 10 feet tall, maybe taller, 10, 11 feet tall. As it steps back down and becomes the black trapezium panels again, that screen wall is about 6 feet tall from the roof of the service drive. So
I'm good.
We're very confident that we have, now, if we
10
come
feet
in
might be
with
the biggest,
15-foot
highest
tall
parapet in the whole
AC
corridor.
units, I think I might be in trouble. So I think
Yeah.
we're going to be good.
Okay, great. So look, my general assessment here from an aesthetic perspective, architecturally, it's great design and work. It's beautiful. It is very industrial looking compared to what we typically see in this corridor. I understand that that's Porsche's look and feel. So a couple of questions along those lines. One of the things is that the screening wall is great for screening, but in my opinion as a layperson, I'm not a design professional, is it's it could be softened. I'm gonna suggest that could it be softened, or would you be willing to soften it with some landscaping? I don't care if it's potted. I understand you've got pavered plaza there, but it could be, in pots or whatever, containers.
Are you talking about a second layer above the?
I'm talking about right in front of the wall that fronts 98.
Yeah,
Yes, right
So
there.
the renderings have vegetation growing, that they're gonna have vegetation on the wall. Is that?
So for a couple of things. One, Lee, you're referring to the screen wall off to the left that is screening the vehicles, not the air conditioning screen wall.
Correct. I've moved on from that. You got me comfortable
thank
there.
You.
Yes.
The answer is that we had not done that yet. We had added some really fabulous, public benches that would have some great trees and let that wall be clean. However, honestly, I think it's a fabulous idea. I think that we can soften those first 3 or 4 feet against the wall and create some areas of some great trees, but then expose the wall in areas and put a bench and absolutely soften that edge. I think that would be a great landscaping add.
Great. That I would love to see. I think that would really help, not only just soften it in general and make it more pleasing to the eye, but also fit in better, a little bit better with what's on the corridor today.
Yep.
So great. I love that. Then along those lines, again, for me, and I'm curious to hear my fellow board members' thoughts on this, but the building in general, I'm not talking about having you completely redesign this building, but it is just very industrial looking. Now, a lot of that can be softened with landscaping, which is one of the reasons I was asking about how accurate the renderings are. Let's have a discussion on it as a board. I feel weird sitting out here by myself with this. And some design professional input would be great because I'm just a layperson.
Yeah. So from my viewpoint, looking at the site plan, and I think the way that Tim described, there is no visible merchandising. So I love the idea that it's completely screened off and that you're really only seeing the building itself and then this beautiful plaza in front of it. The landscape is, it's all native. There's a big drift of muley grass going through with the sable palms coming up and the live oak. It fits that way aesthetically. I think to me, all you're going to see is that plaza up front and the big drift of muley grass as you go by. I think you'll see the building because it's gray and reflective and you'll see it. But to me, I don't think it's going to be too obtrusive. I don't know. It doesn't, we're talking about 2 stories, whereas, it's not as large and as prominent as some of the renderings kind of make it feel, I don't think.
That's what's hard. It's hard to get an idea because the renderings are meant to show off the building, right?
Right.
which is
why the landscape's never accurate.
understandable.
But
Yeah, exactly.
But that's so from my perspective, I think the only thing that I see driving down the road is that beautiful plaza, and I love the idea of the charcoal color, the darker color as the backdrop, instead of something the bright white kind of coastal color that we see for some of the screen walls and fencing. And I think that creates a really soft backdrop for whatever you put in front of it, and it kind of fades away. So, that's my 2 cents. I really can't speak much to the building. I don't know if you want to.
When I first saw this, honestly, I kind of struggled with it because it's a Blue Caban. I'm familiar with it. It's high. It's high end. It's modern looking that we don't really have. Then I started looking around at other communities that have approved Porsche dealerships, and kind of is what it is. Everybody's really welcomed them, and I've come around to it. I like it. I do like the site plan after we went through it and presented that the screen wall, you don't see anything, like you said, except customers parking their car or parking their car in the charging station. I mean, overall, I'm fine with it. And I think they did a great job with the site plan and presenting it. Like I said, I mean, I came around to it this week. You know, because I mean, just driving here too, I'm like, we just don't have anything like that, you know, but,
Very different,
but
very.
it's, you know,
But we also don't have a lot of the public plaza
We
or
don't.
some of the,
we don't.
you know, the other things
No.
that kind of make it a little bit more special.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
Yeah.
It is different in a lot of regards. And I would love to set a precedent that we have more of that public space and introduction space up front.
Right.
So to me, it seems really appropriate.
Yeah, and I do like the idea of the art. I mean, local art, something there would just be really cool. You know, whether it's ever changing every 6 months or whatever they wind up and do there, I just think it's cool just to have input like that.
A question about the art.
Yeah.
Is it simply through CAA's public works projects, or is there another approval process of sorts for that kind of thing to occur?
I think that's a great question for Tim.
Code has a prohibition of reproducing something, like a car or a boat or a volcano.
Well, I mean, that's more kind of geared towards like
Goofy golf.
Goofy golf. I mean, that's not
That's
not what we're
towards
talking.
architecture.
Yeah.
Well, basically, it was geared toward, we don't want these miniature golf courses that have. all
Yeah,
this-
and I don't think that's what I don't think there's any.
But I'm just saying, you can't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to do something other than that.
Yeah.
Hey,
But-
we want a big gorilla.
But, but because this is in a scenic corridor, I think it has to come back to this board.
Oh, okay.
I
The
think
art
so.
installation would?
Probably so, just, you know,
Okay.
Yeah.
more and more and
Yeah.
more and more.
That's completely
It's,
logical.
Okay.
it's
Absolutely.
basically an exterior modification.
Okay. That'll be an interesting discussion.
So for,
A less than minor.
I think that,
I would, yeah, probably.
yes.
well, I'm gonna open this up a little bit, and I hope I don't regret it, but like, for instance, a comparative situation. There are plans to do public art at the new underpass
Oh,
in Inlet
okay.
Beach. I am a big part of that project.
Okay.
I would prefer that the plans for that actually come
Come
to
here.
this board. Yeah,
Okay.
the public art
Yeah.
part.
Okay.
So, similar.
Yeah, I can see. I
but
can
it's in
see.
public space, but still.
I can see where that would be.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it just, I hope we have more and more of it.
Yeah. No,
I love public art. I mean,
It'd be
that's
interesting.
great.
Okay. So I don't want to kind of dwell on the pieces that are exterior to this one. So just to kind of sum up, so we've got the two deviations, the deviation for the colors, both the dark gray and the kind of lighter, and the deviation for the use of the metal panel, and then approval for the major development order itself, which we've already talked about, making sure that we had wording in there that we were not including the signage for tonight, not including any site lighting, and the landscaping against the front of the wall. And knowing that there would be an opportunity for them to come back with that lighting plan ahead of a board approval or as a submittal separately afterwards. Are there any other points that we need to talk through?
Let me clarify, as far as the signage, that relates to the building sign and the monument sign?
Yeah, all signage
Both.
for the
They'll
building.
come back for that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
that emblem on the
Yeah, and the,
that
yeah,
column. Yep, that's gonna
Where?
have to.
the,
I saw-
Oh, yeah, at
the
the front.
monument
Yeah, you're
directional
right.
signage, yeah,
Yeah.
all of that is gonna be a
Directional
part of
signage.
that.
I think I saw 2 monument signs.
And there
I
is,
think
yeah.
all that. And I would say my point, that would just be a word of advice, like, this is outside the norm, so the more you can keep all that within code, and the better, I would say, for it.
I'm hearing you.
Okay.
Yeah, you got me, okay.
Are we done with,
And obviously, you know, we have to make the starting point with, you know, Porsche has standards, right? I mean, just like everybody else. And so what we want to try to do at the first pass is really look at Walton County's limitations and requirements that we're required to go through, apply that to the Porsche standards and then see where we can get these two to bleed together and make it work.
And we understand, yeah, we understand that part. So Lee, you had another question that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, do you know how many vehicles they're planning to display in the showroom? This is not a code question, but just.
Yeah, right now, I think if I remember correctly, it's 7 in the showroom.
Okay.
The way the dealership is designed, there's a series of element pods. And so there's a classic pod, there's a technology pod, there's a historic pod, which is basically classic vehicles. Then, so that you've got all these spaces. And then you have runways where, kind of like the old, raceways, racing days of lore. And so I think we've got about 7 total in the dealership, with only about 3 on the front glance.
Okay, so, yeah, final comment, real quick. I just want to say, I mean, I'm asking some questions because, in my opinion, this is the first of others. I think, once we have one dealership in, we're going to have especially other high-end models wanting to come in. It would not surprise me at all if that happens fast and furious. Use a little phrase related to vehicles here. Sorry. So, I think this sets the standard. So I think we have to be very deliberate and cautious and careful is why I'm kind of looking at some of these things pretty closely. And again, that relates to signage and lighting. Please, when you come back, be thoughtful about all of that. So you're trend setting here, just so you know, like it or not, I think it's going to happen.
What I do, Lee, that's what I'm here for.
All right.
So we will need to make 3 separate motions, and the order that they are on the paper, we've got color deviation first, material deviation second, and then the site plan as third. Before we do that, is there anyone from the public tonight that wants to make a comment on any 3 of those proposals? All right, not seeing anybody. Does anyone on the board care to make a motion or have any additional discussions?
I'm not going to make all of them, but I'll make the motion to approve the color deviation.
We have a motion to approve the color deviation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. 11, the material deviation.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And 12, the site plan. And I would prefer a motion that talks about excluding the signage, site lighting, and the landscape in front of the wall. Does anyone care to make a motion on that?
I'll try. I'll make a motion to approve item number 12 with conditions to come back before us, right? With the requested landscaping in front of the screen wall.
Well, I think we can make that a condition without an approval of that.
Okay.
In my opinion, if that's just that they include landscaping to soften the front wall.
That's fine.
Good with that? Okay.
Okay.
But the signage and the lighting.
Yes, I was going to say, and to come back before us with the photometric plan and the signage.
I think
that
feels good. Yeah.
Second.
Was there anything else that we missed on that? Okay. Did you get the conditions on that, Karen? Okay. With approval with the condition that there's landscape added to the front wall, and that they come back before the board with the photometric plan and signage. All right. Did I get that correct then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
We have a second. Oh, did you? Okay.
Mhm.
Sorry. Didn't write that down. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. approved. All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you very
Um,
much.
We have one additional business for feedback, South Walton Fire Department. Yeah, Chad.
I'm
do
sorry.
you need to go? Then We're done with.
Probably.
Okay.
Is it okay if
Yeah,
I go?
we're done with the voting items.
Okay,
If you
I
want
just
to
gotta go.
jump, okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Man's got to catch a plane.
Okay,
All right.
go.
So,
Right here, I'm sorry.
South Walton Fire, if you'd like to come up and,
Good evening.
Hey.
Daniel Latour, South Walton Fire District Assistant Chief. I have with me,
Ryan Crawford, Fire Chief, South Walton Fire District. Good evening.
good evening.
thank you for giving us your time tonight. We're seeking board feedback in regards to property owned by South Walton Fire District at 110 South County Highway 393. This property was previously leased to Habitat for Humanity Restore. They have opted to not renew their lease. So the fire district has opted to not release the property. We would like to operate our beach safety division out of the existing structure while we determine the long-term future for the property. Our intent would be to occupy and operate out of the location in a fiscally responsible manner in regard to property improvements, as we have not yet determined what the long-term plans for the site would be. Currently, our thoughts are to erect a 6-foot wooden fence along the east and northern side of the property, placement of an approved scenic corridor sign, and ideally to place a flagpole displaying the current beach flag conditions. This beach flag would be identical to those currently placed at the regional beach accesses. With our intended use of the property, we're seeking board feedback on additional steps needed to proceed with our intended use of the property.
So you currently own it?
Yes, ma'am, we currently do own it.
And they did own it previously, so it was,
Yeah, and was leasing,
Yeah.
we're leasing it out.
and it's been cleaned up and all the,
Stuff.
So Tim, will they need to come in with a corridor application for bringing in just a fence? It feels like that's not requirement if they're just putting a
Does
fence
this
up.
front 98?
It does
Doesn't it-
not.
Doesn't it front 393?
Only
300 feet from the,
Yeah.
my understanding is 400 feet.
400 feet.
400
yeah.
feet is the, yeah. But
No, I mean, we don't really have any, there's a standard in the scenic corridor that the fence can't exceed 6 feet in height. But
Right.
we don't issue permits or anything for fences, so I
Right.
don't think they would need anything from us as long as they're in
And that's what I thought also.
compliance with the 6 feet.
Yeah, as long as they're compliant with the code, that they would not be bringing the fence before us.
Yeah.
So, I would love for it to be an attractive fence, but.
Yes. Yes.
I think that would be, on 393 and the scenic corridors, there's a requirement for masonry pylons, every 24 feet, 54 feet, 52 feet. Tim, do you remember? Okay.
Is all wood acceptable if it's not a masonry
I
or
think
stucco building?
Well, the masonry wall is in lieu of a buffer.
No. So the question is, I think the wording is that the columns match the material of the building.
Yeah.
So if it's not a masonry or stucco building, what is the material of the columns, and are they required if it's not?
I think the answer is no.
Okay.
If it's not, then that requirement goes away.
Okay.
What is the siding on this building?
Metal.
But even though this is within 400 feet, I mean, typically we would treat this as being 30A scenic corridor.
Right, because its frontage is along 393.
And you really can't see it from 98. I mean, we've really been using the 400 feet mostly only if you can see it from the road. If you can't see it from 98,
But they still wouldn't have to come back before us because we don't approve fences.
no, and
So-
the standard is not exactly the same, but the standards are similar for fences, except if it's on the sides or in the rear, there is no height limitation in the 30A scenic corridor, only in the front setback.
And it looks like y'all are doing.
Fence, you could have a 10-foot
yeah.
fence, but if we consider it to be in the 98, 6 is the max.
Mhm.
Which frontage do we use if it's?
Well,
I think we're gonna consider this to be in the 30A scenic corridor.
I would agree.
So it can't exceed 4 feet in the front setback, which is the first 25 feet.
You're proposing the fence, it looks like, to start at the building setback.
Correct,
So
setback.
that can be higher than 6
Yes.
feet. It can be.
In the 30A, it
yeah,
can be,
whatever your-
there's no height limitation. It can be as high as you want it to be.
That include on the north side?
It does.
All 4
Yeah.
sides. Once you get past the 25-foot setback, it's all 4 sides. And there's no requirement for a permit for a fence.
Right. So you guys don't have to see us again for that.
Well, not
Not
to
if
this
it's,
board.
no.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I think we would really consider this to be in the 38 scenic corridor, not the 98.
Not the 98.
So your flagpole is limited to 50 feet, because that's the height limitation in South Walton. The signs, you just turn a sign permit, and I can.
The beach flags are appropriate. Within
We need a very wide beach flag.
Not in the
So-
38 scenic corridor. In the 98, you would, because it only allows unless we change that.
Can we regulate that? Because we can't regulate signage.
Well, I'm pretty sure the language says in the 98 scenic corridor, it's a U.S. flag and it's the state flag. That's it. Anything other than, because we've had deviations for corporate flags in the past, McDonald's or whatever corporate flag, but that isn't in the 30A scenic corridor.
Is that consistent with state statute?
I don't know, but it's been in there for
Are you thinking Reed?
20
Versus
years or
Gilbert.
something.
So I didn't think that signage, is it?
Flag a sign?
Yeah.
Something to look
Well,
at.
It's specifically addressed in the 98 scenic corridor as flag, not a sign. It's addressed
I know, but under legal protection, it falls under the,
signage.
I think that should be checked into. I mean, I could be wrong, but I would double check it.
38 scenic corridor, it's
good?
fine.
Yeah. Regardless. For your purposes, I think that's okay.
But it does say in 98, the U.S.
And the
state
state.
flag.
Interesting.
Is that it?
Mhm.
So are you guys just nothing to do with anything, especially because we don't have purview here, or apparently we don't. Are you planning to like pressure wash the building, paint it, anything to dress it up a little bit?
Pressure wash, yes.
Okay,
We
not
do
painting,
not
no.
currently have plans.
Pressure
for-
wash would be great. And what about a little landscaping?
Well, we would love to do all those things, but we're a little nervous about what we can do without triggering a lot of other things. And so
Yeah.
my goal has been to use that building and see if it's going to work for us longer term. We've had some flooding issues in that building as well, and we know that building, investing a lot in that current building is probably not the best use long-term for us. So I think the model is if we feel like that location is going to work for us, we may try to do something different, whether that
Gotcha.
be
Otherwise,
a
there's trigger
modular building in the
points
back or
For them
something
having to bring
different.
everything into code compliance and bring the whole building.
Yeah, he's
Planting a
right.
few trees too.
Well, I mean,
he's-
they can do that, but there's a certain level of improvement. There's a list.
Well, in the 98 scenic corridor, but in the 30A, basically you do any improvement, you have to bring the whole site up to code. So
Any improvement.
Yeah, so he's right about
That's
that.
what we're trying to be cautious of.
Because in the scenic corridor, in 98,
Isn't
it
there a
says if it's
list that-
less than 2,000, you do this. If it's more than 2,000 square feet, you do
30A
this.
doesn't have that provision.
No, so
Hey.
if you're going to do any improvement, you have to bring the whole
Whole
site up
site.
to code.
Yeah. That would be,
That's silly.
That's what we're trying to dance
Yeah,
around.
that's-
well, I mean, it's silly for them, but it's probably not silly for some of the structures that we have.
It discourages people from
Yeah.
improving that.
Improving, yeah. All right. So I mean, really, it's gonna be working with Tim on your signage, but I think the rest of it, as long as you're compliant with the corridor code, you don't see us for any of that.
Thank you for giving us that advice. We
Yeah,
wanted to
I'm
be
sorry you
sure-
guys had to wait all night for that.
That's no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Terribly long meeting.
Yeah. All right. Motion to adjourn, assuming? All right, and we're good. All right, thank you guys.
That's so funny. Has there been any more discussion about moving the meeting time and place and, 'cause we're out of